Do you ever drive around at night and you can kind of peek into people's windows and you wonder, like, what's going on in there? What do they do? How are people living?
Yeah.
I just see, I've had the opportunity over the last 20 some odd years to just see how other people live. And it's considered best practice to just knock and interview people that way instead of calling.
Yeah.
And so they don't know I'm coming. They're not ready for me. Their house is just how it was, but they're not trying to tidy up or put things away. And so I just walk in on real life. And so I don't know, that's not necessarily unique to Nashville. It's like humanity, like getting to know people where they are. And oftentimes they don't want to talk about the things I'm there to talk about. And so it's a strange thing.
Welcome to The Decision from Nashville EO, where you will hear the rest of the story after tough decisions were made by entrepreneurs who faced adversity and lived to tell about it.
Welcome to The Decision, the podcast by and for EO Nashville, where we interview members who talk about all the fun that they have starting, growing, scaling, and selling businesses. My name is Eric Jackson, and with me, as always, my partner in crime, Mr. Robert Hartline.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Good to be here with you again.
As always. Do you know if we're close to 100 yet?
We are so close. I think we are in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 90s were a great time.
Music sucked in the 90s, honestly. What? I'd much rather have 80s music.
Blaspheme. You blaspheme. Anyway,
one of those people.
We can have that debate later. With us today, Amber Kaset. I did it right.
You did.
I'm so proud of myself.
Thank you.
You are in an interesting and unique business for EO. You do investigations.
Yes.
Tell me about that and how you got into that work.
Okay, so my firm is called AK Investigations. How did I get into it? So I really fell into it. I lived abroad in college for a year, and then after that, I was there for another year. So I speak Spanish, and I graduated with the intention I want to help people and I want to use my Spanish. And I just coincidentally got a job at the public defender's office in Nashville, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's all the things that I wanted to do. And it let me continue to explore the world, but, more in my backyard. And so I've gotten to know Nashville in a really unique way. I've gone into homes all over town, all over in the surrounding areas when I was at the public defender. So I was there about 7 years. And then I decided to go out on my own and hang a shingle. And yeah, so here I am now, 15 years later.
What would surprise our listeners about your traveling to other people's homes who maybe aren't native to Nashville or the United States?
What do you mean exactly?
What is that experience like for you to go there and to explore? I guess you're investigating, right? You're trying to discover new information. What sorts of things have you learned from doing that?
Do you ever drive around at night and you can kind of peek into people's windows and you wonder, like, what's going on in there? What do they do? How are people living?
Yeah.
I just see, I've had the opportunity over the last 20 some odd years to just see how other people live. And it's considered best practice to just knock and interview people that way instead of calling.
Yeah.
And so they don't know I'm coming. They're not ready for me. Their house is just how it was, they're not trying to tidy up or put things away. And so I just walk in on real life. And so I don't know, that's not necessarily unique to Nashville. It's like humanity, like getting to know people where they are. And oftentimes they don't want to talk about the things I'm there to talk about. And so it's a strange thing.
How do you build rapport with somebody that you're going to ask them something difficult and get them comfortable before you start asking? Like, how does that It's got to be a skill you have to learn.
It is, absolutely. It's one of the things that I train new investigators on when we hire is getting in the door, because we're not law enforcement. We have no power to get inside. It's just, do they want to talk to us or not? Are they going to extend that grace and that opportunity? And so it's a clear introduction of who I am and what I'm doing and who I'm working with. And I explain, hey, just want a little bit of your time to understand this thing. And, it's in ways it's a little bit like sales, like the first 20 or 30 seconds, like you might have them or not. So it is a unique skill. And it's also, it feels completely socially off. Like you don't just go knock on people's doors, especially in our culture, you're not just showing up at people's houses typically. So we're not always welcomed with open arms, but sometimes people are, they come on in. I can't tell you how many times that's happened. They have no idea who I am. Like, come inside.
Now, did you desire to be a private eye when you were in school, or like was there like I'm just imagining an old TV show like inspiring you to do that, but was there something like that?
I was a painfully shy kid, and so it's a very strange turn of events where I'm working on murder cases and high level civil cases. I felt like I didn't fit in the places that I lived, and I felt a lot of compassion for other people who I saw get mistreated or bullied or, messed over by the system. And so I always knew I had a heart for helping people. And then I learned later that my grandfather on my dad's side, he was an attorney, and he passed when I was young. But he was a civil rights attorney and represented Black people in bathroom segregation cases during the McCarthy era. And he was blacklisted and the family had to move. And so that injustice, I think, is just sort of passed through my family of like, we're going to stick our necks out and we're going to help people who deserve to be helped and have their voices be heard, no matter what. And so I think that's just generationally in me.
Yeah. So you worked for the public defender's office. Obviously, you saw some sort of need there that translated into a business. How did that manifest?
I wasn't really I wasn't a business person at all. I was an investigator. I was a criminal investigator, and I was 29, and I had a conversation with a couple of attorneys that I used to work with at the public defender, and they got into private practice. And they were like, you can do this on your own. And I was like, well, this is great. I can set my own schedule. I can work on the types of I can select what cases I work on. I can select who I work with. I can do it on my terms. And so I was looking at it in that way. And, all signs pointed to yes. As I was doing that, I got my LLC, and, I started going through the hoops of starting the business. And I had one murder case, and I was in business. I took that leap.
And you have to represent sometimes people that committed something bad.
Yeah.
And how do you reconcile that?
I get asked that question a lot. To me, it doesn't really matter if someone is guilty or not. It's about giving them the opportunity for fairness in the system, because so many people don't have that opportunity. Police get tunnel visions. People get overcharged. There's often a story behind something that happens. And that's not to say that everyone plays well with others and can be out in the world, but also it's about making sure that things were done fairly. So in our criminal defense cases, it's, we're doing the police work again. We're making sure that it was done properly. And yeah, it's just, you can't just rely on that as the sole resource of information.
Yeah. Are you seeing, I'm sure you've seen police departments maybe taking shortcuts, or because they're so overburdened, they push something along that they haven't really fully thought out, that you may be the only person that could actually prevent someone from being wrongly convicted.
Yeah. It's, there's sloppy police work. There's, like I said, there's tunnel vision. They're wanting to close cases. They want to get justice for victims, which I get, but it has to be done correctly. There's a process for that. You can't show somebody a photo lineup and, kind of hint at one of the pictures. Like those kinds of things happen.
Yeah. And do you do anything beyond like criminal defense cases? Or?
Yeah, we do civil and big civil cases. We do, if you need to locate someone, if you need a background on someone, we do other things like that. But big lawsuits are generally the other.
I don't think a lot of business people realize that they may find themselves needing an investigator to either investigate a partner or a employee that's done something shady, which is something I've had to navigate. I mean, maybe explain a bit to our audience of other EO members why they would hire somebody like you that may not be thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, let's say you're going to partner with someone on in a business and you think you know them, but you have to do the due diligence. I mean, looking into any kind of court record they might have ever had, there might be some like civil suit that they had 3 years ago that you know nothing about, but records are a great way to start. So these are ways to look into people without them knowing that you're doing it.
Right.
And you don't know what you're going to uncover. I had a large civil case that I was working on. And one of the plaintiffs had accused my client of some really horrible things. And we did some really deep dive digging on this person. And we found a big history of drug abuse, and criminal history, DUIs. There were a lot of things that were there. And this person presented very well online. You would have never known. Mm-hmm. And that's information that's useful when you're making decisions about who you want to partner with, who you're investing your money with. And it's just due diligence.
Yeah. So obviously you've joined EO, you have employees, and this is some interesting work that, as far as I know, there's no school for this. Maybe there is, but tell me about how you started to grow and scale and what that looked like for you.
So like I said, I didn't plan to go into business really like a business person. I thought it would just be me and kind of setting my own schedule. I found out the week after I started my business that I was pregnant, and I was in a pretty unstable relationship at the time. And so I had a very rocky start to my business. Business hit 15 years earlier this year, and my daughter turned 14. So I'm able to sort of date the business that way. And so if my mom hadn't been living close to me at the time, I don't think I could have done it because there's so much travel involved.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I just started getting really busy. I was juggling a baby and my business and death penalty case in Texas and Alabama, and I'm traveling all over. And I mean, it was really, really hard. The start was very hard. The first several years were very difficult. And I started hiring a little bit in the first few years and making bad calls and I just didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know exactly how to train someone. And like you said, there aren't really schools. So this year, I actually just launched an online course to teach people to do criminal defense investigations for investigators, paralegals, podcasters, and people like that who do interviews and look for information. So that was another big leap in the business that I've taken recently. Maybe
we need to start hiring her to investigate our members.
Totally. That would be so amazing if you were like, it says here that.
Yeah, Joe, see, you have a long criminal history, and can you tell them some? Yeah, that'd be bad.
Well, it does make you think. I mean, if we're being real, there's a lot of trust that we give people that join our forum.
Yeah.
And, there are situations where people are starting to do business, which is frowned upon, but it still happens. I mean, people are introduced with people that have money and have resources, and someone slides into any organization unannounced and could, within a few short months, do some deals that could turn out to be I've watched too many Dateline episodes. I know, but still, these things happen.
Yeah.
And I have seen it more than I'd like to admit that, I went through a period of time with theft and fraud with employees that I just assumed everybody was a fraudster.
Yeah.
Because it happened so much. And in fact, I had a private investigator that I hired full time. Well, not full time, but he was like, I was probably calling him twice a week with different knickknacks because I was paranoid.
Yeah.
Because I had so many things happen. Did you have to do much in fraud and things like that?
We do, I mean, on the defense side, sure.
Yeah.
We helped the guys that that you were having issues with, I guess. When they got charged.
That's so wild that you're on that side, and I just think it's fascinating to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, on the other side, I mean, typically the police, law enforcement is going to handle the prosecution's investigation, right? So they're pretty well resourced. On the other side, it's different. So if someone doesn't have money, then they can get services through the courts, and the courts will fund investigators for that. So that's some of the ways that we get paid, and then also privately. So someone is charged with a crime, then they would pay for their defense attorney and then their investigator.
How did you get locked into the kind of investigations you're doing now? Because you're really locked into that particular thing.
At the public defender's office, I worked on every kind of case imaginable.
Yeah.
I mean, from DUIs to I had a serial killer. You know, I mean, it's everything you can imagine. So really nothing phases me now in terms of criminal defense. And it really translates well to any other kind of investigation. It's all the same skill set, right? It's looking into people and situations and pulling records and preparing for interviews and talking to people about really hard things and sensitive topics. It's all the same if it's criminal or civil or whatever it is.
What's one of the biggest business decisions you've had to navigate in your career?
I mean, the biggest one was just continuing the business after I found out I was pregnant. That was a big one. I remember, I was like 29. I remember being in my bedroom just crying, well, what am I doing here? And my parents are divorced, and they were both sitting in there with me. They were like, you got this. This is okay. So that was a big one. I decided to continue, and I'm so glad I did. This is I have an incredible opportunity to help people, and the work is wildly fascinating, and I meet so many interesting people and the attorneys I work with. It's great. In terms of other big decisions, starting the course was a big one because there just isn't something that exists like that. And it was a big investment. And, I talked to my forum a lot about it. I'm like, oh my God, I put too much money into this thing. It's where I learned about minimum viable product. But we got our first contract. So who's
the market for that?
We're targeting for like larger scale things like public defender systems, like, a state system. They might have a public defender, like Kentucky has a full system, or Los Angeles County has like a full system in their county. And then, individual offices, paralegals, and then again, podcasters, people that are having to dig, there's like true crime podcasts, and they're, investigating cases and that kind of thing as part of those, or just doing interviews.
I never thought about a podcaster needing to have those skills, but it totally makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I know an individual who watches and listens to way too many true crime.
Is that you?
No, no, I have no interest in it. I mean, I'm sure it would be interesting. I've got a lot of other diversions, but so tell us a little bit about you run into maybe tell us a story about a situation where you found some evidence, if you can, that really changed the narrative of the whole case, and maybe exonerated somebody that it looked to you or to the public defender's office that this person is absolutely guilty, but we need to go do the work. Are there any interesting stories
where the client was guilty and was exonerated,
or where they were, the public defender's office thought they were probably guilty, but it turns out that they were not? And
trying to think. So I had a case many years ago where my client was an unhoused man downtown, And he had been accused of aggravated assaults for lunging at like a downtown worker with a knife. And I think he cut him or something. I can't remember the details, but he wasn't very injured, but I think it was an aggravated assault case.
Yeah.
And as I was reading through the file, I noticed that it mentioned that the complaining witness or the victim in the case had previously been in law enforcement. And I thought that was kind of strange because he was working in a different capacity that seemed sort of like a demotion from that. He wasn't in law enforcement anymore. He was sort of one of those downtown guys that just made sure that people were acting right. If he needed to call the police or something. And so investigations requires extreme attention to detail like that. And so one of the things you can get public record is personnel files on officers. And so I uncovered all the different places where this person had been an officer. There were like 2 or 3 places. And I went in person. At that time, that's how you had to do it. And sat there and just looked through the files. And I found that he had signed a letter to a supervisor with a swastika. And case dismissed, It's that kind of due diligence. Like this guy had, he I don't know if he was telling the truth or not about the case, but there was something off about him. And we knew that, the victim in the case.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I guess if it's a public defender's case, there's not a lot of resources sometimes to go all the way to do the kind of the research. So how do you suss that out?
I'm trying to remember. I might have been at the public defender's office at the time during that case. If they have large cases, they can get funding for outside experts. So if they just need one. So if it's a case where they require a ballistics expert or a forensic psychologist or something to analyze evidence with a client, then they can get that funding. And then private attorneys sometimes will take appointed cases, and they can get funding for experts in that. And so we fall under that category as private investigators.
So specifically in your role in your company, what is your role? Where do you find yourself as a leader? With your team?
So one of the things that I did some years ago was finally get some supervisors and managers in place at the firm. And that was the thing that kept me from growing, is not having that, because I was organizing all of the stuff we had to bill. I was working a full caseload. I was doing all of these things, and I was sick. I was running myself into the ground, and it was that I couldn't let go of that control, And so finally I was like, okay, I have this great investigator. Do you want to be a supervisor? Do you want to help me supervise the cases? Because I don't just give people cases and let them run. I want to make sure that things are being done on it and that there's checks and balances. That way, if something happens and they're out, somebody else can handle it, right. And that if they leave, then I know what's going on. And so I don't really remember what you just asked me.
Hey, that's normal. That's normal.
But I was going somewhere with it.
Well, it's like what is your specific role that you find yourself?
My role. Yeah. Okay. So now I do have a few managers in the firm that help me with training and supervising. I still will do some intake on some cases depending on, my time and who it is and that kind of thing. I have a few cases that I'm working as well. I just have a few selective cases that,
how do you pick a case that's for you or not?
It depends on, maybe it's a lawyer that I work with occasionally, or that I think it's good for the firm for me to be involved in it. If it's a very high profile case, I'll likely be working on it. It just really depends. And then I'm also doing a lot of work on the course creation. We have a few courses out and we're working on more. So that takes a lot of time. I'm busy. I could work 100 hours a week.
Yeah. What inspired you around the course development?
Because I was training people with the same things over and over and over again. And I had a bunch of things written out, and then I would sit down with them and I was like, well, I'm just telling the same things to people all the time. I needed it internally. And I also realized that, like, if somebody had something like this, I would have paid for it for my team. So why don't I just make it? So that's why I decided to do it.
When did you launch?
Earlier this year.
Yeah. How's it gone so far?
It's okay. I mean, it's been a bit of a slow start because people don't know we exist.
Yeah. So there's a sales aspect now.
Yeah. And I'm a noob on sales.
Well, I think you'd be great at selling. I mean, it's just it's the same way you're going about talking about cases as, just getting people to open up and
we just got
I believe in you.
Thank you. I need it. Maybe I need to talk to you.
So at what point in your business did you get introduced to EO and realize that, there's some more things I need to learn to be a good business owner?
Wow. I wish that I had joined before the pandemic. That would have been useful. I can't remember how I found out about it, but somebody told me, and then I went to a meeting, and I think it was actually Ginger Jones, maybe, or someone.
We were talking about her earlier.
Yes, we were talking about her. I think maybe she was at that meeting, and everything that everyone was saying, I was like, oh my God, how have I not done this already? Because I've felt like such an island for so many years. I couldn't. First of all, everything that I'm doing is so highly confidential. Yeah. And then I can't talk to, who am I going to talk to my team? I can't talk to my clients. Who do I talk to about how the actual business runs? Because I want to be good to my staff, and I wanted to grow, but I just didn't know what to do. And I just needed, I needed a sounding board for things sometimes.
Yeah. How have you transformed in your leadership now that you've been in EO as long as you have?
I think I've been in for 3 years now, and just being around the kind of people that are in my forum or the people that I see the most, I feel so constantly inspired. And I had a mentor for a while too, Joe Friedman, and the way he would talk about things sometimes, it sort of like planted this idea in my head that things were possible that I couldn't allow myself to dream up. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I couldn't even go there.
Yeah.
And so him and just people in my forum and the way they talk about their businesses and what they're doing and just the energy that they have behind it has inspired me so much that things don't feel as impossible, like shooting for the stars, like why not, and eventually good things are starting to happen. Like I've invested all this time and energy and not restricted myself in the way I dream about things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What does your vision for the company look like for you when you're thinking out into the future?
Well, I'm really excited about the course. I want to have a full course because criminal defense investigations is a total niche and there's no real fully fledged training on that. And so I want to create something that doesn't exist in the world because people need it. And it's a way for me to help so many more people than we do in just direct casework, which is really exciting to me. It's sort of a legacy thing.
Yeah.
And also it just helped relieve the pressure valve a little bit on all the murder cases for my team. If we're doing well with the courses, then it just will make things a little bit easier on the team that I have.
If you were to speak to somebody that's joining EO, what would you tell them about how to get the most out of the forum experience?
I have a wonderful forum. I think the most important thing for me is to just be very open and it's like be yourself. And I think that's what makes our forum so connected is that everyone is really authentic. Even when we're having difficult conversations or about things that we see something very different, we have different perspectives on things. There's just like a trust there. And like, I know everyone in my forum has good intentions for each other. So yeah, just being open, I think is the main thing.
Yeah. I think the thing that since I joined 18 years ago,
oh wow,
that there's more of a focus on the emotion behind what somebody is presenting on, what emotion they're feeling. And that to me is something that I guess it was a little odd at first. I didn't quite get it, but there's just this. It's hard to put yourself in the other person's shoes when they're presenting on a problem if you don't really know what they're feeling. Mm-hmm. And it kind of helps you as the forum mate to kind of put yourself in their shoes. Have you seen that at work? Because I know you guys are probably trained to start that way, right?
Yeah. Can you say what you said again? Because I had a thought and then I was bouncing around.
Yeah. So the whole concept of as a presenter, or when you're doing a deep dive, as we now call them,
the feelings is what you were talking about. Yeah.
And how that, have you seen that really change maybe your perspective when somebody else is doing the presentation on how you should address your feedback?
Something that makes me think about is, and something I've noticed in Forum and even with myself, is that we are so much like our childhoods and our past and our traumas and the difficult things that happen to us are so tightly woven into what happens in our business and how we handle issues. And I think that I can see that more in myself now that I've heard other people tell stories. Does that make sense?
It does. Yes.
And what things that my money issues that I had from not having anything growing up, or trust issues because of something that happened, and how that plays into like how we operate within our business and what limitations we put on ourselves and that kind of thing. I think that's a really big thing that I've learned being in Forum.
Yeah. I mean, I experienced that too, because I got into Forum for the first time and I realized I'm the smallest business in here and these guys must know everything. And then you dig in and you realize, oh, everybody's got their little demons that they fight in order to be successful.
Or the stories we keep repeating over and over.
Oh,
I just like, it's almost like, oh, here I go again. And I can't even see it. And it's not till my wife or someone else like mirrors back and goes, oh, you've done this before. You keep doing this. Like,
Yeah, same presentation over 3 years.
Yeah, and that's really at the end of, that's just really why this podcast exists, because there's so many EO members that find themselves doing a deep dive. It's just a repeat. The same deep dive that they're just like stuck. Do you ever get stuck with something you need to decide that you just can't decide?
Yeah, I mean, the decision of getting managers in my business was one that it took me years and years to do that, and it was holding me back so much because I couldn't do everything. Yeah. And it was this sense of wanting to control things and make sure everything was going to be okay. And single mom, I was like in real survival mode. Like I had to have this thing work out. Like there was no failure possible. I started with so little and I needed it to work. My kid needed it to work. So yeah, I held on to that for a long time. And then eventually I stopped white knuckling it so much, and.
Well, you kind of mentioned this like emotions piece. I have this little emotions wheel over there.
The pillow.
and I think that's part of the 5% is really understanding what emotion we're actually feeling. Because if you can really lean into what the exact emotion is, it helps you to shape the story differently.
That's usually what takes me the longest when I'm filling out the form. What emotions do I have around this? Because it colors how your presentation, I think, is going to go. Or I keep saying presentation, your deep dive is going to go.
Yeah. And most people don't stop to think about that. They're just pissed off or they're just whatever, like they're having some kind of visceral reaction to something, but they don't go a little deeper. I'm like, maybe I'm scared. Yeah. Or I'm sad about something.
You just approach it from this almost transactional perspective of, I need to fix this problem.
Yeah. It's not so black and white. Yeah. There's more under the surface. And I noticed that really early on in Forum too, because it's so much of what I do at work, with my clients. So part of what we do, especially in our death penalty cases, is life history investigations on people. And so not only are we looking at the feelings that a person might have been having during a crime or something, we go back into their family history and we go back into their school records and we really understand the backstory of a person. So in Forum, you have that information on yourself, probably, right? More or less,
if you're willing to access it.
If you want to go there, yeah. But I really thought that was a cool connection when I started seeing that, and like getting to know my forum mates better. And when we did was it the Lifeline, or what is that exercise called? Yeah, that was really cool for me because it was like this mini version of the life history investigation of like, oh, this is, these are the hot points for you and the points in your life that really impacted you. And now I understand you and your business so much better.
Well, I've also noticed too, understanding the value of anger in emotions, because right below, if you look at levels of consciousness, it's this scale of like shame and guilt on the bottom all the way up to enlightenment. But in between that, in the middle is like love and all these. But when you get up to anger, right before anger, courage is like level 200, but right below that is anger. And anger creates the courage. That's when we really make decisions, is when we get angry and then we're mad. And then it's like, okay, that's a really good signal for change.
That's the catalyst, right?
Yeah.
We have a special guest.
Oh,
we got it. Yeah.
Hello time.
Yeah, I think that we probably need to put the link to buy these in the show notes, because I've talked about this multiple times. I've wanted to buy one of these. The good old.
Yeah, like here's.
I think I've felt all these at some point.
Yeah, like even this one. This is a wild one. Jealousy.
Yeah.
What is that like?
What's under it?
Yeah, just all these things that I saw this from a formate. She brought it to form one time, and I just like got laser focused and trying to figure out what those were.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And thanks for sharing.
I think if you look at it, there's only really. I think we'd all really like to be here.
Yeah, we want to be in the yellow zone.
Most of it is things that we don't want to feel. Here, I'm just going to sit here with this.
Yeah, just cuddle with that.
Yeah.
Amber, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your storytelling. And if you are an entrepreneur in Nashville, Tennessee, and you're curious about EO, you can visit eonashville.com and learn how other entrepreneurs in your town gather together in a forum experience to navigate important decisions in their life and business. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit eonashville.com. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your week.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Podcast by Nashville EO. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.